One's just short.
Huh?
One's just short.
Yes, one's shorter, which is why I prefer it. Most math people like it concise.
Can we do 40? The fractions. X and the.
For a minute there's like 40. Holy shit. 40. Oh, okay. This
That
one.
one's pretty good.
What's funny is we focus on at the bottom is variables. That when I'll go back to numbers, we sort of go, what the shit? But what's the whole idea with equations with fractions in them? What do I want to make happen for those fractions?
Same denominator.
Same denominator, yeah.
So we multiply everything up.
That right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you make everybody have what on the bottom?
12.
12. You can kill all the 12s.
Right. So then you have 8x equals x plus 7.
So this guy needs a
4.
4.
And 2. No.
Whatever. Right? And then, let's take one more color here. If I multiply by 12, these cancel, these cancel. So I get
8x
8x,
minus 10
10.
equals x plus 7.
That looks nice.
And that's the
No. I mean, solve the equation, but hey, that's relatively easy compared to what it looked like a second ago, right?
Time we just stop and go, oh,
I know,
okay,
but
well,
that's
this
because
one.
I've got it on the answer key, so I'm like, I already did this. So let me give you the answer key. Sounds like a decent number. You try this out.
Plus 10.
So you already gave out the rest of the files?
Yeah, I did. Did everyone out?
What are you looking for?
No, I just wanted to see if I could get it.
I got an extra one. Yeah. I can email you probably. No. No? Nothing. Me no. Yeah.
What's up? Sorry.
No, you were right the first time. Okay.
I know. Whether it's a Marawa. That's the only thing I learned from Spanish.
Oh, we did.
Can I have it?
Oh, that would be good. So there were 2 on the key that I said in class, and we did both of them already. Good. Just didn't have room on there. Yes.
For the section 9, in the chapter 9. So we have just 4 sections.
Yes.
It
1,
feels
2,
good.
3,
It feels
4.
like
Yes.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. But when I tried,
Like,
they
mine feels
also
boxy, so.
do the problem for the final chapter, no, first chapter, for the review question.
Dude, yeah, it's going to cover all the 9, so it's going to be
Yeah.
mixed.
But there is a one question, one answer. Just one answer was absolute value. Just one.
I know. So I addressed this, didn't I? The book, in the square root section, square chapter, they assume that the variables are greater than or equal to 0. So there's no absolute values that show up. I showed you the more general reality, and the book said, I don't want that. So I don't know where the absolute value, there must have been a specific
I know.
question.
I have it.
Yeah, there was a specific question that said, what if it could be anything? Then it's got to have the absolute value.
I think in section 9, in the higher roots, and that I explain it a lot there.
I see. All right.
So for this reason,
It's on the board in the back.
What's what? What are negative numbers? So if you think of positive numbers representing an increase in that amount, then a
Oh,
negative.
that's what's wrong. You tired?
Yeah.
You better come correct next week when you come down and take this test. You better get your sleep in.
Just, I mean, I still gotta wake up early.
No, you don't. You don't have to wake up when you can wake up when else.
No, I mean,
I have a job. Fuck that, no.
No, it's only if it's a square root.
Okay,
Yeah.
how about the school buys my gas and food and clothes and
Well, guys.
and home replacement therapy?
We would say, what about that?
It's not real. That's what
not real.
Yeah.
It's nothing at all.
That ain't shit.
take the next level math,
I'm sorry.
dude, this is shit. This is, it's not shit, but it is
It
business.
is.
It's a complex number.
Complex or imaginary?
It's called imaginary. I kind of like the idea, it's really unfortunate we didn't get this far, because it's such a cool freaking idea. And I can't stop myself, so like, what do you get when you multiply by 1 by negative 1? What's 1 times negative 1?
Negative
Not adding, multiplying. Do you guys see how that's a 180-degree turn?
one. Yeah. Wait, did you show us? I think you did show us this actually.
So 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. That's 180. So if I multiply by negative 1 twice, that should be 180. 180 should give me back to 1. And sure enough, negative 1 squared is 1. It gets me back to 1. So what would this be? That is a half turn. That would be there. That is what that represents, and that's why it's really unfortunate, when they first came up with negative numbers, they called them imaginary, because there's a really cool video I like to show when I teach in complex, but like people are like, what's a negative apple mean? If you have 2 apples and somebody else takes 3, you got a negative apple? That's imaginary. So, but now we all know our bank accounts probably couldn't be described in sometimes unless we had negative numbers, which
It happens to us.
we didn't have. Damn it, bank. No, it's just stop at 0.
It's fucked up.
So we used to call them imaginary, and then people kind of got, well, okay, I'm cool with it now, so we didn't call them. Then this idea came along, they called them imaginary, and unfortunately that name stuck. A much better name is actually, who works out? Anybody work out? Nobody works out? When you work out, you work out your lats, right? So lateral means on the side, so lateral numbers is really what they should be called, because they are on the side of the real number line.
That's pretty cool.
Anyway, and watch. What is the square root of 7 squared? Why is that sort of a silly question? What would that be? What's this? Yeah, because these kill each other, don't they? Right? So what's the square root of negative 1 squared?
Negative 1?
Yes. And why does it make sense? A half a turn, and then another half a turn, I should end up here, and I do. So it's a complete picture. Without these numbers, you do not have a complete picture of numbers. Real numbers are just a subset of all numbers. So it's really unfortunate that the imaginary term stuck. I don't blame students when you hear like, they're making this shit up. But it's just the reaction people had to this weirdness. They couldn't even handle the idea of negative numbers at first. And of course nowadays we know that's all fine. This one they definitely couldn't handle, and eventually they could, but the name was already stuck. Anyway, sorry. So, unfortunately, I can't tell you more than that. I don't want to take up more time on something we're not going to do. But it's such a cool idea, and I know I'm a math geek, and I might just be...
I have a question about that. If that was a 4th power, would it just go around again?
Yeah. So, first power, second power, third power, fourth power.
Fifth power, sixth power.
And not surprisingly, maybe we call the square root of negative 1 I for imaginary. So I just represents the square root of negative 1. That's enough of that, sorry. You don't have to worry about that. If you see this on the test, you're going to say not real. If you see I get a little teary. You're not going to get more points though, but. What about, let me ask you this.
Let's do that.
There's a problem in the homework, at least one, that's like this here. Do square roots play well with addition? No. The square roots are based on multiplication. They're like exponents. So there ain't no way I could do this to each. That does not work that way. But what can I do with x squared plus 6x plus 9? Factor it. How does it factor? Get started. 3 and 3, right? And isn't square root of x plus 3, x plus 3 times x plus 3 is x plus 3 squared.
Yep.
Yeah? And watch real quick. If you make x 1, if x was 1, this is the square root of 1 squared 1 plus 6 times 1 is 6, so 7 plus 9 is 16,
Four.
which is 4, right? I mean, right.
Yeah.
That's true for everything. If you simplify an algebraic expression, a number you put in here has to be the same as what you did at the end. That's what it means. That's the concrete thing behind the weird abstract shit we do here. So I could have picked 2, 3, whatever the hell. As long as it didn't end up negative inside, that would freak it out. Maybe. And again, this really does need an absolute value, but going along with what the book said. Yeah.
I like this question.
I know, me too. Obviously, Jeff. Today's a long day, so if nobody's asking anything, you just ask exactly what it is that you're worried about, that you're freaked out about, that you forgot how to do. If you're looking through that practice file, if there's just too many questions, pick one, ask.
I'll pass.
Or else it's going to be a really boring class. Yeah.
Just say beer and booty stuff.
Okay.
Right.
So here's a cool problem.
Saturn.
It might be Saturn.
What is it even? It's 3.
Square root of 6, 6y, multiply 2, square root, 50, y cubed.
All right. This is out of the homework.
Yeah.
There's only a multiplication in this whole thing, right? So what parts can you multiply?
3 and 2.
Yeah, 3 times 2 is
6.
crazy. And these both have a radical on them, the same radical, so you can multiply the insides. What's 6 times 50?
300.
300. What's y times y cubed?
Y4.
Y4. Whoa. Can you do the square root of 300? 300 of that's what.
I feel like you can if you ask it. There's gotta be a way. There's gotta be a way.
No, you can't. Right? But you can take the square root of 100. Yeah, there's just 6. 6, I can break this up as 100 times 3. What's the square root of 100?
10.
10 times the 6 that's already there.
60.
60.
3 red.
What's the square root of y4? Y squared, yeah. And what's the only thing I can't do in here?
3.
Stupid 3. He stays inside. Become a square of the 1.
Rad. That's rad.
Notation does suck a little bit because the
So you have,
number in here it looks like it's coming up.
so when you're trying to do that, you have to break it apart.
So we'll copy them.
Yeah, that idea, what I just did with the 300, is definitely something you guys have to be able to do. That's that simplifying a radical.
Oh yeah.
And it really is just,
It's
you know,
easy.
so if I had square root of 44, can you break 44 into something that is square rootable times something else?
Yes.
Yeah, what would it be? And what's the square root of 4? 2. What's the square root of 11? I don't know.
Freaking whatever.
Okay. Okay. Just to check with everybody real quick again. Everybody got this here with the schedule for next week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I do have a final earlier on the day that we have our final on Tuesday, but I have office hours in between. Nope.
One C and one F, you don't need to take the X or W out.
Wait. It's 1C? 1C? So how do you mean take an X out?
Because there are three items, all of them have X.
Not the last two. Also, very important thing. If I said multiply or simplify 2 times 9, what's that? 18. If I said factor 18, what's one way to do that?
9
2 times
and
9. Factor is the exact opposite of simplify. So if I say simplify and you're factoring somewhere, stop. Right? Because they're opposites. You're undoing multiplication when simplify means do the operations. Right? Plus that one has the 3 doesn't have an X. So yeah. Probably same thing for 1F. I agree. It is factorable, but again, that'd be the opposite of what I'm asking for.
Most of the stuff in the beginning was simplifying and stuff at the end was factoring.
Yeah, simplify at the beginning and then solving equations. We're factoring was something we learned to use to solve equations. Yeah. So it really is simplify, and then the next part of the class was solve equations. Yeah. And factoring was something we learned along the way to help us solve more equations.
For some reason,
Great.
I put at the end of that instead of -3, I put +4.
Okay.
Not right, even if I did add them, but okay.
That is so cool.
All right, I don't know what I was on.
I like
That's
it.
crazy. All right, buddy.
So, for this, so we follow everything like division,
That's so cool.
multiplication before division, we do it. And if it comes.
Yeah. So how does order operations go again?
Less.
Yeah.
Then,
And these
Please excuse my dumbass son. And the reason I write it like this is because these two are equally important. Right? So if I saw this, what do you see, Jeff? I see this. That is not 4 divided by 6. That doesn't make sense. Because what's the only number in there I'm dividing by? 2.
Yeah.
But if you make it 4 divided, now suddenly you're divided by 6, you've got a different problem than what this says. So that's why you do this in order. 4 divided by 2 is 2 times 3 is 6. Now that makes sense.
But if it was like a plus, was it a plus at the beginning and then at the time? Yeah.
Now if I had 4 plus 2 times 3, what comes first for sure? Multiplication. Before
better
this
not
comes.
say first.
I like it.
They're not like it.
So if I were you, the weekend would be where I try to identify my weakest spots, and then you come to my office. And again, I'm hoping that you have areas that you're good with, which means you have areas that you aren't so good with. So you're going to focus on those. Come to my office on Monday, right? Or Tuesday, right before class, or both. If I have a ton of people come, I could just find a room somewhere, fill a note on my door. I'm out of here. No, it's
The class after finals? The class after finals?
hell no. I love the name final. It's so appropriate. So anyways, you can't correct the final. Don't call me. I always get somebody like, can I come there and correct me?
I don't know why I was thinking Monday.
I love the name.
It's Tuesday, Thursday, Tuesday for final. It's on the freaking paper, I'll figure it out.
Will we just do email alerts, or does it go on our?
Yeah, I put it in a web advisor. I don't know how long it takes to, it's supposed to be overnight, but sometimes it takes longer. So what I tell people is you can email me when you're done with the final, and I'll just get back to you when I'm done. You know what I mean? I used to tell people, put your email in your text. Never again am I doing that shit. Oh my God. You email me, I'll reply when I can. It's much better. Yes?
Will there be like distance problems on
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. So the word problems I put on there were really just representative. Oh yeah, it was doing word problems. So it could be any word problems we saw from the semester.
Has anyone ever asked me to correct like a mistake that was really small? Or files?
I mean, once they're asking for everything. Not-
No, I was
Just
asking
this.
if that ever happened.
Yeah. No, the answer is no. It's easy. Easy answer. So if you're ready, you don't have to sit there staring at me. It's okay. I'm not going to record your name. Say again. Graphic? What kind of graphic?
You can make that.
The second part, we started doing the graphic.
Term Spencer.
Second part of what?
Like my dog.
Oh, the slope, the intercepted slope.
Oh, yeah, okay. So if I gave you this, what's the y-intercept?
The y-intercept would be the
0, negative 1. Yeah. Make x 0, you shall put y-intercept 0, negative 1. Write that down.